G'day, everybody. Welcome back to the D2C Slingshot podcast. Today, I'm joined with Cody, and this is a super special one because this has been in the works for 5 months. I reckon about 15 different cancellations, and we finally got him on. He's one of the partners of Sackcloth and Ashes. Just want to give yourself a better introduction than I just did for you and give us a rundown on your history.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. And yes, you're correct. This has taken a long time, so hopefully it doesn't disappoint. But I'm glad we got to make it happen. But yeah, like you said, my name is Cody DeJardin. I live in the Pacific Northwest in Oregon. I'm one of the partners of Sackcloth and Ashes. We are a one-for-one blanket company. Kind of took the model that Tom Shoes obviously pioneered, but localized it because we believe homelessness looks different in every single city that you're in, right? So for every blanket that somebody purchases, we donate one to that customer's local homeless shelter. So if you buy one in Portland, Oregon, there's one going to an organization or a shelter in Oregon. You buy one in Austin, Texas, same thing. It's all based on zip code, and we have this really cool tracking system of being able to do that and have relationships now with over 700 incredible organizations across the country that are doing the actual work. I tell people all the time, blanket solves a physical need in a lot of situations, especially in the winter months, but it's not obviously solving the issue that is homelessness and so much more that goes into that, right? It's these organizations that are doing the work, that have systems in place and just unbelievable care for anyone that needs it or wants it, that are doing the work. So I tell people all the time, if our main mission really is to elevate the work that they are doing. If we can be a bridge more so for organizations, corporations, or individuals that want to get involved and provide them the resources from these organizations, I feel like we're doing our job well.
Yeah, for sure. And how many blankets have you actually given away to date, if that's something that you guys keep track of
Yeah,
and make
absolutely.
public?
Yeah, we're close to about 800,000 blankets right now in the United States. One thing I didn't mention is if somebody does purchase internationally, currently we don't send blankets international from a donation standpoint. So it goes to a shelter organization in most need, as we call it in the United States. But yeah, like I said, 700 shelters across the country, um, and have great relationships with all of them.
Yeah, awesome. And do you just want to dive a bit deeper into why the company was started in the first place? Was it sort of somebody, it was a bit close to home, or is it just you saw a need in the market and wanted to do some good out in the community?
Yeah, that is a really good question. So Bob Dalton, our founder and CEO of the company, good friend of mine, was involved in a youth organization in the community, but wanted to do something bigger than that, in his words. And his mother, in his words as well, the hardest working woman he knows, has 2 college degrees, raised him and his sister on her own, lost 2 really close people in her life at a period of time, and told Bob, hey, I'm going to go start my life over and move across the country to Florida. And she just packed a single suitcase with a pair of interview clothes and thought a friend was going to take her in. And when she got there, found out that wasn't the case and ended up sleeping on beaches and benches. And so Bob, like, any son or daughter would do, is like, hey, mom, let me help. And for her, it was her own journey and she wanted to do it herself. So the next best thing Bob thought to do was call his local homeless shelter and ask what they all needed. So they all said blankets. And like any naive, not entrepreneur, he went to Joann Fabrics, which is a fabric store in the States, and bought a sewing machine, a roll of fabric, learned very quickly that he was not a master at sewing, and found a woman in the community that was actually already repurposing old scraps of fabric and blankets and donating them to people in need. So hired her, and I guess the rest is history from that. To answer a question that always comes up, though, when he shares his story about his mother is doing unbelievably well. I'll save the long story, but she came back to Oregon, got into this unbelievable program, went through the entire program there, then worked for that organization, and now works for an organization in the Portland area and is thriving. And again, in his words, is healthier than all of us are. So she's doing really well. But yeah, that close to home side of things definitely is what propelled the start of the company. And now him and his mom get to speak at things all across the country and more importantly, share the story of what she went through and be able to inspire some hope for people that are going through those things currently.
Yeah, that's absolutely incredible. And I'm glad to hear she's doing well at the moment.
Yeah.
Now, to get this business off the ground, obviously there wasn't much sewing skills there. So what sort of
Yeah.
skills in the beginning grew the business? Like, was there a moment that you're like, oh, this is something that's actually going to work, it's going to build like a sustainable business?
Yeah, that's a good question. So from the beginning, the only marketing strategy that we had was, and this was 2014, June of 2014. So it was post on Instagram every single day, and the whole thing there was post quality, consistent, and clear content. So every single day was just posting on Instagram, running hopefully the wave of what Instagram was, at least at that time. And it was November of 2014, that same year, where Instagram's actual Instagram account reached out to Bob and said, "Hey, Bob, we love your story. We want to share it on our platform." And at that time, they had something like 42, 45 million followers. And Bob was like, "Great, that sounds amazing. When are you going to do this post? We'd love to get prepared." And they're like, "Hey, we're posting about you on Thursday," which ironically was the day before Black Friday. And I think we probably had 400 blankets available at that time. So sold out of all of those, but what it did for us is help propel the business because, as you're aware, what Instagram looked like at that time, influencers wasn't even a real word, but it gave us access to work with basically any content creator that was on the platform, and how aggregated content worked at that time. Everybody wanted a blanket and they were traveling the world and take these incredible photos. So we just sent blankets to really anyone that wanted to take photos, and started aggregating all that content and continued that strategy of posting on Instagram every single day.
Yeah, and your Instagram feed is one of the most aesthetically pleasing feeds that I've come across. Like, your content
Thank you.
is beautiful, and obviously the blankets help. And you work with a lot of artists to help create those blankets and designs and different collaborations and all those sorts of things. You just want to give us a quick rundown on the strategy, how you're able to build those relationships, and then also maintain them as well.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, at first it was pretty straightforward. It was, people were reaching out to us. Obviously, they saw the post, and the opposite as well too. We're reaching out to people. Hey, if we give you a blanket, there was at that point, I don't even think we were paying anyone for that content. They knew the value of, like, hey, where our platform at that time had grown to, and us posting their photos helped their platform. You get how that works. So we're able to aggregate way too much content. Honestly, we have content for years, it seems like. But as Instagram, began to change, and, we started to hone in, the key, I would say, content creators, influencers that we wanted to work with. I would say it's more traditional now. We're paying for a series of photos or reels, or, when we launch a collection, a good example would be the Star Wars collection that we put out a year and a half, 2 years ago. And we really wanted those photos to look like they were on the 3 planets that we based the designs around, right? And so we found photographers that had been in spaces like that before and said, "Hey, would you want to go back there?" And obviously, compensated for all of that, and take photos that look like they're on Endor, Hoth, or Tatooine, right? So now I would say it's a little bit more strategic on who we're working with, but we have a Rolodex of about 30 content creators that we will work with on a regular basis. But if you ask our team internally, we have too many photos. So yeah.
Yeah, I've opened up some Google Drives, and there's like just a folder. Like, there was this one client had like thousands and thousands of photos, and the way they organized it was one folder, and then just had like the thousands and thousands. I was like, what am I supposed
That
to
stresses
do
me
with
out so
this?
much.
So
That's stressful.
yeah, it
Yeah.
sounds like you're a bit more organized than that. But I was like, I don't even know where to start with this. Like, I'm just gonna have to scroll like a piece of content and then pull that out, because there's no way you can sort of go through, filter all of it. So hopefully we got a better management system than that.
Yeah. I mean, I can't take credit for that organization, but a few people on our team are very organized and have done a great job of doing that. That's for sure, which makes everyone's job easier when you're looking for something specific.
Yeah. So obviously you've got the big collaborations with National Geographic, Star Wars, but you also collaborate with local artists as well. Just want to dive into the inspiration for that side of things as well.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, like we already mentioned, we work with Star Wars. Our first licensing partner was National Geographic. They reached out to us on LinkedIn, and like most LinkedIn messages that you get, you're like, "Yeah, this is spam," so you skip through it. It wasn't, I think, for like 2 or 3 weeks after that, we're like, "Hey, maybe we should email this person." And sure enough, They wanted to do something with National Geographic, and you're familiar, anyone listening is familiar with licensing agreement. Pretty straightforward agreement there, but for us it was like National Geographic. I mean, you've seen our photos, made sense, right? That is, I would say, our audience when it comes to what we could create with them, and so we did that. And as soon as that collection went out, we're like, hey, let's do something with Star Wars, which on the other side was not exactly our target market. Obviously, they have probably some of the biggest fans in the world, or galaxy, I would like to joke at least.
Yeah.
But for us, it was more of a risk. So it's like, how do we create a product for that market that I would argue really value the collector's side of things? So let's not just slap a Star Wars logo on a blanket. Like, let's create something that's more powerful. And so our designer and the team came up with the concept of creating them specifically for the three main planets in the original three movies, 4, 5, and 6. I get confused still. But launched that with them. And it was after Star Wars, we started to have the conversation internally about what are the real core values of our company, right? And does doing something like a collaboration with Star Wars make sense based on our values? I'll list our values really quickly. First and foremost is meaningful stories. We believe, like, in anything that we do, a story, a narrative needs to be told through what that is. And I can get more into that. And second, quality product. I mean, you've seen the blankets. Quality matters, right? You can have an incredible story, but a not so incredible product, and you'll fade off pretty quickly. And for us, we wrestle with the idea of, do we call it sustainable products, responsibly made products? But for us, a quality product is sustainably made. It is responsibly made. And if you anyone dives into the process of how our manufacturing it is done, it's a really beautiful process. We can't take credit for it. They've been doing it long before all of our grandparents were alive, but quality product. Third, and I would say most importantly, is local impact, right? It's the model of our company: local, local, local. And then fourth and finally, it's engaging a community, right? And it's like, how do you engage in a community? How do you empower them to make a difference in their backyard, right? Locally. So when we had all these values laid out and started thinking about collaborations, things like Star Wars didn't make sense, right? Obviously, iconic heritage brand, probably one of the most well-known brands in the world. We're super proud of the product that went out into the world, but what's the narrative behind it, right? Like I joked about the galaxy, but there's no blanket the galaxy campaign that could be attached to that, right? So moving forward, all of the collaborations that we're doing, whether that be with a licensor or an individual, an artist, whatever it might be, has to have a narrative attached to it. So I can speak to, or I will speak to, licensing agreements moving forward. For every licensing agreement moving forward, we're bringing in a third-party artist. We do a lot of work with artists specifically on the native side for a lot of obvious reasons, right? Especially in textiles. So many native artists have had their work appropriated by other companies, whether it be in the blanket space or just in general. And we really wanted to have a platform for them to, or an extended platform for them, I should say, to continue to sell their work, create work, and tell their story. And so we've done a lot with that. So obviously there's the marketing component too. You bring in another party that has some sort of platform. It helps drive the sales ultimately and donate more blankets, which is the end mission. But yeah, moving forward, it's story driven, and how can we empower and encourage people to make a difference locally.
Yeah, and you've got some absolutely beautiful photography, and then also videos on your Instagram as well. Like a couple of those pin posts where you go through that manufacturing process, like if you're in there all day, every day, you're just like, oh, this is another factory. But then like somebody like me who doesn't know about that process, or some random on the internet comes across your Instagram and sees that, they're like, oh my God, that's beautiful work. Like they're actually doing. And then you've got the local artist designs as well, and you actually send me a blanket with that designs on there, and it just stood out among everything else on your website and all the other blankets out there because it's so unique, the design of it. And then you spoke about, like, I've been having naps on the couch all winter with the blankets. So yeah, I absolutely love it as well. It's my favorite to go
Thank
to.
you. Yeah,
And
I
we've
mean,
got like my fiance just buys throws and blankets like it's not going out of fashion, and that's
yeah.
like my go-to one. So yeah.
Yeah, everyone needs a blanket, or probably 6 to 10 of them in their home, and we've found anyone can give a blanket to anyone for anything. So I'm biased, but I think it's one of the most universal products out there. And speaking of the manufacturing side, I had the chance to go out to Italy, just outside of Florence, in this city called Prato, is where all of our manufacturing is done. And I wish I could say all that is done in one vertical manufacturing plant, but it's 9 different locations. And I'm not talking next door. I'm talking it's 30 minutes to the place up the street to get where they do the tassels on the ends of the blankets, things like that. So it's quite the process. And like I said, we can't take credit for it. They've been doing it forever, and it's really, really special. And that's why we do share that process on our website and through all we do.
Yeah. So with a lot of my clients at the moment, a lot of people in e-commerce, like at the moment, like obviously shipping, the cost of shipping's rising, margins are a huge worry at the moment. Now, I don't want to get into the absolute numbers because you said just before we jumped on, you're not the finance guy and they would never want you to be the finance guy. But how do you guys
Correct.
sort of manage doing that? Like somebody buys one and then you've got to gift one out as well. How do you manage that? And then you just talked about that manufacturing process as well in 9 different locations. You've got a massive team. You've got all these organizations that you're working with, huge licensing deals, and then also the local stuff as well. It seems like you've got a lot going on. Just want to speak how you actually manage that.
Well, if it was up to me, I would charge about 4 times the price for a blanket. I don't think that would work well, but that would be my, choice. It is a great question, though, especially on the one-for-one model, right? And I think, economically, a lot of companies can get into trouble for that exact reason. I'm just throwing out round numbers, but say our blankets cost $50, right? You're donating another one, and okay, your blankets sell for 110 to 140. No one's making money, right? It is interesting, though. About, I would say, 90 to 95% of the blankets that we do donate, and this is not based on our choice, it's based on the actual needs of a shelter, are our twin size premium fleece blankets that we actually now sell on our website. We debated for a long time, do we sell this blanket, do we not? But it does provide a cheaper option for somebody to come in and experience the brand and the quality behind what it is. Those are the blankets that are donated in most situations. It's typically a twin size bed. They need to be washed every night or every couple nights. And so that's what we're donating. And that's for, like I said, the overnight shelters are ones that are being given out on the streets. But when it comes to, women's shelters or long-term programs, that's when we're donating the exact same blanket that we sell on our website to those organizations, because it's less about the physical need and more of a token of, warmth, comfort, or just, something nice to display in their room or for them to have. So economically, it does work out well, because the blanket cost is significantly lower for the ones that we're donating.
Yeah.
Again, not by our choice, by what's actually needed by the shelters.
Yeah, for sure. And then also to grow the business, you need to invest in your marketing. So what are you guys doing in terms of marketing activities at the moment? Obviously, you've got Q4 coming up, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Christmas, New Year, New Me sales. You're not as much into the fitness, but those sales do pretty well when that new year hits.
Yeah, great question again. You said blankets, holiday season, like no one really wants a blanket when it's 90 degrees outside, right? So I would say kind of 2 things. So one, I think collaborations is huge, right? And it doesn't need to look like standard licensing deals. Collaborations with artists. I was mentioning before we chatted, or live, that we're introducing these things called curated collections. So we're working with celebrities to bring together 5, 6 blankets on our website that we currently sell, and they're getting a percentage of everything that they sell or we sell in general through that period of time. I genuinely believe that collaborations are and will continue to be the future of what good marketing is. I can speak on some brands that I've looked up to since I was a kid that collaborate extremely well, and not always are they revenue driving projects, but they're definitely relevance driving, which I think over time does convert to revenue. But collaborations is a huge part for us. And then secondly, and I would say it's the less fun side of the business, but from a revenue standpoint has been great and has really helped us, like I talked about earlier, with our core values and trying to be that bridge between corporations and local organizations that are doing work, is our gifting program. So we do a ton of work on the B2B side of things. So companies that want to give a gift to their clients or their employees, customers, the closing gift space is huge for us in real estate and mortgage insurance and all that. So we built out a program for, I'll just use an example. HomeSmart Lending is a mortgage company in the United States, and it's one of our national partnerships that we have. And for every one of the mortgages that they do, their agents have the option to send a blanket directly to that customer. And it comes in customized branded packaging for HomeSmart. So they know it's coming from them. They have the option to write a handwritten note that goes into it. And we've seen that program has really transferred into our D2C, right? Because it's a blanket, right? You receive this gift, you're like, oh, like I said earlier, you need 6 to 10 of these for your house. You're like, what a great gift. I want to give this for all my closing gifts, or give these to all my family members for the holiday season. So that has kind of helped us become less of a Q4 holiday brand, right? Which you'd expect if we were just sitting in the D2C space. So that gifting program has really helped us market, which is a little bit outside of, traditional marketing. I'll be the first person to say it wasn't until like 2-3 years ago that we, I think, spent $1 on Meta or Google ads or anything like that. The thing that if you're going to go start a brand, you probably need to know what you're doing, but we didn't do that for a long time. And so fortunately it was that low-hanging fruit that, you start putting money into that and you can see where that could take you as well. But collaborations and our gifting program have been the two biggest things when it comes to expanding the brand.
Yeah, that's crazy. You didn't touch Meta or Google until just a couple of years ago. So
yeah,
obviously it took you so long. And then how have you found that transition into paid social?
Yeah, it works. I mean, it works. It's a game, as you know, and it's ever changing. I speak back to, I think that's a lot of where our bitterness comes from when it comes to things like Meta is, we rode the wave that was Instagram when there was no, money attached to marketing, if you will, right? And then when they first started introducing paid ads, we felt like we hacked that system as well too by doing things like giveaways, right? And so you put a little bit of money, say $500 behind a giveaway post that you're doing a traditional giveaway, comment below, tag people, all that kind of stuff. So these posts would blow up organically, but then they're also feeding it with the paid side of it as well too. And so you'd start to see these numbers at the beginning where it was like, we're paying less than a penny to get somebody to our website. This is crazy. And obviously that's changed in the last 10 years. But that was a good time. That was a good time.
Yeah, the golden days, eh? We just put out a boosted post and it would go viral. So
yeah.
Now, the platform that's going a bit viral at the moment is TikTok. Are you guys across TikTok at the moment?
Oh man, I wish you didn't ask that question. We are,
get somebody in trouble.
No, not at all. There parts of our team have pushed for that for a long time. We are on it. It doesn't do well, to be completely honest, and I am not even close to the person that should be giving advice when it comes to something like TikTok. I do know that, at least from a D2C standpoint, like TikTok, and I fully support, like if you're going to go start a new brand, absolutely be in that space. And probably more importantly, just focusing on vertical, content in like the reel side of things. You could do that on, YouTube Shorts, Reels, all that. It does make sense. And I mean, you go on your Instagram today, it's not what it was 10 years ago. It is reel after reel after reel, right? So we don't do well on TikTok. It's something where, again, another piece of low-hanging fruit that is there that I think we need to dive into. But the other platform that has been great for us has been LinkedIn, which is probably one of the most boring social media platforms, if you can even call it that.
I hate it personally.
Yeah,
I was searching for your name in my emails, and then there was all this LinkedIn stuff from you. And I was like, oh man, I don't check that.
Yeah, no, and you're not alone in that. But myself and Bob, our founder as well, I've found a lot of success from LinkedIn. It's just crazy how the platform works on how you can get connected to people that in no way, and through Instagram or email, that you'd ever have the option to do that for. I'll speak just to the success on it. We don't do any sales, I would say, through that, but you're just updating your connections on everything going across the brand. And things like Disney came from a cold outreach that came to us on LinkedIn. REI, same thing, came to us through LinkedIn. And it's especially, I would say, in that B2B space, because there's so many, real estate, mortgage, all those types of companies on there, and seeing the custom side of things that they can do with packaging and in the gifting program has been really successful. So as much as I don't like social media at this point in my life and I'm over it, it's the one platform personally that I think can go a long way, especially in our industry. There's plenty of, D2C brands where I'd say it's probably not worth your time to spend all your energy on TikTok or vertical content, like I was saying, but LinkedIn has been helpful for us at least.
Yeah, it's definitely a different play compared to a lot of the e-commerce brands that I talk to. Like the big ones, obviously Meta, Google, and then
Yeah.
probably less so TikTok, just because it's like a content base. Like you just need so much, and you need to keep up with like
Yeah.
every trend. It's a monster, but yeah, LinkedIn's obviously a different play for sure. But if it works and you've got those massive collaborations out of it, obviously you need to keep doing that. And then the other one you mentioned was doing the YouTube Shorts. Do you also post like long form content on there? I didn't even think about checking out your YouTube.
Yeah, I'll send that to you. And honestly, with all of our social platforms or whatever we want to call it, Instagram is really where the platform in terms of following is at. Obviously, email as well too. But we're doing a lot when it comes to video. And the purpose for those isn't vertical content, like I was saying. The short, quick 30-second to a minute type things. But for every collaboration that we do, right, we're putting out a video that's telling their story. So
Yeah.
two examples being Naomi Glasses, a native artist that we've worked with now 2 times, and now since then worked with her brother. Lauren Goodday, another one. It's like we go to them, tell their story, and do some pretty beautiful content, in my opinion, to help tell those stories. Because obviously content matters, and whereas TikTok, I think it's weird. Like on TikTok, the things that end up going viral aren't necessarily these extremely beautiful, well shot cinematography driven
Yeah.
videos. It's the like, I'm holding the phone up to my face and it just goes right. Although there's an incredible strategy behind that, where our focus, at least for now, is on that quality, clear, and consistent side of things.
Yeah, I need to go watch some of those interviews, the longer form stuff. Like it would just showcase your brand so well, and then dive in deeper into the story. So if somebody come across that, they'd almost have to buy it. So
Yeah, and we've been doing the
yeah.
same thing now, like on the corporate side. We actually just shot a video of weirdly enough, she's our number one customer to date. And this is kind of where the gifting program actually originated from. We found that the top 15 customers on our website all work for mortgage companies or real estate companies. Obviously, you can see that in their email. And we're starting to realize like, oh, they're giving these as gifts to all their customers. And they're not getting any custom package or anything like that. So we actually just shot a video. She works for a company called Guild Mortgage, and she was a part of that and was able to talk about the benefits of being able to send the blankets and the give back component of it and all that. So outside of the fun collaboration side of things, we're hoping to pour into content on the gifting side of things and more importantly the local impact. So we've done a lot of work where we go to organizations and film content based on what they're doing and share that as well too.
Yeah. And out of curiosity, how many blankets has she actually brought?
That's a good question. I know the answer is like she spent like upwards of $200,000+ on blankets, and we were like, this is crazy. Like, I mean, she far surpasses everyone else. Like I said, there's the top 15. She is 2 and 1 are so far apart.
Yeah, that's absolutely crazy. Most people, like a lot of people out there starting, are obviously would love to make $200,000 in a year from every customer. So to have one that spent that with you is crazy.
Yeah, it's wild. She must be doing well in mortgage, I can tell you that.
Yeah, for sure. So cool. We're almost about to wrap up this podcast for today, but what have you got coming up over the next few months until the end of the year?
Yeah. So it is Q4, which is a busy time of the year when it comes to what people publicly will see. Fortunately, all the work, or at least most of the work, has been done to prepare for this time of the year. But we have 5 collaborations coming out by the end of the year, starting next week, with celebrity, a native artist, a licensor. I'll say it, it's Smiley brand. They created the original smiley face. Fun fact, they were actually responsible for emojis being created originally. The guy that started Smiley gave them to Apple and was like, hey, you can take these free of charge. Like you can have them. And obviously Apple's expanded on what those original emojis were. Working with the Jane Goodall Foundation, this band that's really big, at least in the States, called Laney. Paul Klein is the lead singer of that, and been a friend and of ours for a long time, and we've been fans for even longer. So it's been fun, and it'll be cool to work with him. Yeah, so collaborations are coming out, and that's what's exciting, honestly, to start seeing, get some momentum behind all the work that you're pouring into it, and yeah, we're excited.
Yeah, just collaborations, and collaborations.
Yeah,
So,
and then on a more I would say from more of an organizational standpoint, and going back to the local impact side that our focus, we're focused heavily on. We've gotten to the point where it's okay. We have the for-profit Sackcloth and Ashes company. We launched an organization during COVID called loveyourcity.org, which is, in short, a tool for people to go on to type in their city, find organizations in their community literally down the street, and ways to get involved, whether that's financial or to just go volunteer. And the next step of that entire process will be creating something that allows individuals or organizations or groups in a community or in a city to be engaged and have conversation on a local level rather than this huge globalistic type platform. How do we really bring a lot of conversation and impact, like I was saying, locally? So that's something that will be coming out here as well soon.
yeah, lots of exciting things on the horizon. But yeah, we'll have to wrap up for today. I don't want to keep you around much longer.
That's okay.
I know you're a busy man and hard to get in contact with, so I'm sure you've got
you're
something else
making me
coming
look
up
bad.
today. No, it's all good,
It
mate.
took
I
5
really
months.
appreciate. Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on today. Just want to give a quick shout out to your socials, where people can find you. Obviously, Instagram's your main platform, and then anywhere else if they want to connect with you as well.
Yeah, it's just Sackcloth X Ashes on every platform, so you can find us, or sackcloth.com. Yeah, thanks for having me. This has been fun. Like I said, it's been 5 months in the making. So hopefully we get to do this again sometime in the next 10 years.
Yeah, for sure. Again, thanks so much for coming on, and I'll see everybody in the next episode.